Hey, James, you know what burns my ass today?
I have no idea what burns your ass.
Well, it's -10 outside in the chill factor right now, so not very much.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure nothing to burn your ass today.
No.
Hi, my name is James.
I'm Les.
And welcome to Toxic Male Manifesto. What are we talking about today there, Dad?
Well, we're talking about, I want to talk about Boy Scouts, or
Oh, that's a big deal right now.
Scouts America now. It's called, anyway, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about boys being allowed to be boys, and I want to talk about how some of us are feeling a little bit stifled as we're growing up, and I don't think the consequences for society is really going to be what people want. So that's one of the things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about sports and competition.
That's a good point.
And I don't know how many of you are aware, but you know, most people give out, or most places give out participation ribbons. Excuse me? If I won the race, I want to be acknowledged for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same idea as with socialism, where there's no incentive to now win. Like, why would you win anymore if you're going to get the same thing the guy that came last got? It's the same idea as with socialism. Like, why would you even want to work if you're going to get the same amount of money as the guy that stays home all day and sits on his ass and jerks off? Like, why would you even get up in the morning?
Well, thing is some people are motivated to work because they actually enjoy their job.
Those amount of people are so small and few between. The human race, we have to admit it to ourselves, we are very selfish. And I'll be honest with you, I probably wouldn't go to work if I wasn't getting paid. Or if I was getting paid to not go to work.
So what would you do then if you were getting guaranteed minimum income?
I would live on guaranteed minimum income. I think that's probably what I would do. Or I'd work a little bit on the side just to make a little bit, like once or twice a day. Once or twice a day, just work for the neighbor or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so that's what we want to talk about today. So,
and I'm also going to talk about this pretty big case we've been seeing going on, Jussie Smollett. And he's from Encore, and he's been claiming that two MAGA supporters have put his head in a noose.
Well, actually, if you read the article, the original complaint was that two people attacked him and put his head in a noose, and there was not a mention of MAGA hats or...
He brought it up later. They said MAGA country and then poured bleach on him, which it was negative 24 degrees at the time when he was out there. I don't think bleach could even be liquid at the time.
Well, that's a couple of people have actually done some tests about that.
And also, like, there's two guys just walking around at negative 24 degrees Celsius, just waiting to fucking find this guy and put his head in a noose. Like they're just dragging around in a noose and some bleach, ready to fucking put his head in a noose. And the two guys they saw, they can't correlate to Jussie Smollett, and those two guys are black.
Well, the funny thing is, I found two articles on the internet that sort of contradicted the Jussie Smollett story on before it started falling apart. One of them was from the police department that are contemplating actually laying charges over what do they call it? Malicious something.
I think it's mischief.
Mischief, yeah. Mischief for making claims that weren't true because they couldn't find any evidence.
Well, they had 12 officers. They had 12 officers working this case. And that's 12 officers that weren't working on a case of somebody who got murdered. Like that's pretty crazy to me that this guy is so selfish and is just such a piece of crap, in my opinion, that he thought, oh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to claim these just for his own political opinion and just for his own political agenda. Like that is
and here's
ridiculous.
The funny thing is I sent you that article.
Yeah.
Right? And I had also read a second article, and the second article was by another, I think he was a musician. It was a black person, a politician, but he's claimed to be a conservative. And I read the article, and he's talking about the possibility that Jussie Smollett was actually involved in some sort of a romantic trio with somebody, and it was the people that were a little upset with him after somebody else's husband that went after him on the street, and that Jussie Smollett didn't want to admit that, so then he made up the story about the racial slurs and that kind of stuff. So that's what this guy had suggested. And then interestingly, less than an hour after I gave you the information, I actually sent you the first website.
Yeah.
I went back on to get both those websites again. I couldn't find them. I went through Google, I went through lists and lists and lists and lists. Both the articles were gone, or whatever happened. I never did find the second one, but I had already sent you the first one, so we actually have that one.
Yeah.
So James will post a link on that one on there. But it was kind of interesting that, you know...
I think, to me, what was the biggest red flag when I first saw this, because I initially thought that this was fake, but, I mean, there's no substantial evidence to it, so I assumed it was real. My biggest thing was, he didn't call the police. He didn't call his family right after it happened. He called his manager. Who the heck calls your talent manager?
And when the police got there 45 minutes later, he still had the noose on his neck.
And it was, they said it was like a fishing line that was just completely brand new. It was like almost brand new. I don't
the noose
think
was fishing line?
I don't think it was fishing line. It was like that clear, thick, plastic-looking fishing line stuff. It was like this thick.
Really? I never heard that part. But anyway, what triggered me and caused me to start reading it is because I heard the story, and I was aghast. I couldn't believe that people, and then I couldn't believe that people claiming to be Trump supporters would do something like that, because it's absolutely despicable doing that. And
yeah,
then,
that's what I thought.
And then, all of a sudden, the media, which is feasting on this, right-wing bashing thing, suddenly it's gone off the media, and I can't find anything on the media. Nobody's reporting it and stuff. And I'm going, really? What happened to the story? So when I started looking at the story, I think a lot of media started going, ooh, we would have stepped in another one. Maybe we got this one a little too fast. And then the media, but the media never apologizes when they do crap like that.
Yeah, about a week and a half ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I told you about Jussie Smollett and the case, and I originally thought that it was fake, but I was like, I don't want to assume things like that, and I just took it for fact, pretty much. And then a week later, it was starting to sort of seem like it was fake, but I didn't want to bring it on this channel because we're not going to jump to conclusions or anything like that, and I hate it when the mainstream media does that, when they jump on things like this with no factual evidence to support it and they state it like it is fact. I know me and Dad, we are sort of Trump supporters. I got my Trump mug, and
we're Canadian. We don't get to vote.
Yeah, we don't get to vote for him. I sure as I wish I could vote for Trump, but we also are trying to be unbiased with everything that happens with him. I know that some things Trump does that I do not agree with, and there are some things that he does that I am kind of impartial. But I
wish the hell he would shut up with his stupid tweets.
I agree.
It's like 100% alive.
Oh my God, I hate when he does that.
Just feeds the left wing like non-stop fodder to go and attack him with. Like, shut the hell up.
It's like every day is something.
Jesus.
Different. And some of it, yes, the people are taking it to a wrong, way and like reading too much into his words, but. Still, if he just shut up, it wouldn't have that problem.
Some of the tweets he puts out are just... Yeah, did you actually read that before you posted it? Like, God.
And I'm also surprised that he doesn't have a guy that double checks all his shit before he posts it yet.
Well, I like...
He doesn't have a guy?
I like the concept of being able to give information to the public...
Immediately.
Without being filtered by the media, but... You know, maybe you might want to filter it yourself first.
Yeah, like have one of your guys from your camp check it out and make sure that it's not some crazy bullshit. Yeah.
Because some of it is ludicrous. Like, some of it just makes, like, wow.
And even with that, there are other things, like I don't agree with some of his tax deductions of the wealthy. I mean, I don't really agree with that a whole lot, but I mean, I don't disagree with it like heavily, but there are other things that I don't really disagree with, like his his gun bylaws that he's wanting to bring upon. I don't really agree with that a whole lot. I don't think he's got a good stance on guns that I personally support. So he's not as a conservative as a guy that I would normally support, but he...
I think he's actually nonpartisan.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a Democrat or a conservative. I think he just happens to have won the Republican nomination, but... I don't think he actually is a Republican. You look at his stuff.
No, he's definitely not. He's a Democrat from the 90s.
He's running a deficit right now in the trillions of dollars, and because I'm the kind of person I am, I believe in like economically speaking. Anybody that's ever looked at economics, a government should be running a deficit during down times, like during recessionary times, because being the biggest spender of the economy, the government can help to stimulate the economy. But during boom times, A government shouldn't be spending deficit spending. They should be saving money. They should be paying down the debt. Right now, the United States is at 105%
of debt.
105% of their GDP in debt. Put into regular terms, that'd be like anybody out here owing 105% of your gross yearly household income in disposable, non-capital debt. That's staggering.
Yeah, so that's
staggering.
So what you're saying, that'd be like if I make $30,000 a year, I owe $35,000 on stuff that I don't currently own.
Or you own but isn't got any redeeming value,
yeah.
like a car or a boat or something,
yeah.
which goes down in value. But here's the other part of the coin. The United States pays almost 8% of its gross revenue to service the debt, to pay interest. Can you imagine if, let's say you had a household income of $100,000 paying $8,000 a year in interest? That's at this paltry 2.5% or 3% interest we have right now. So the government can't allow the interest rates to go up because who's the biggest debtor in society? The government.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're way off track. This is not what I...
The one last thing I did want to say, though, is with Trump, probably the reason why I like him the most is the fact that the media hates him so much.
Yeah.
For in my opinion, not much of a reason, or pretty hardly any reason at all. And that's probably why I like him so much. That's why I bought a mug with his face on it. Because I just think it's so funny how people get so worked up over him and literally are screaming, like, not my president kind of stuff. I just think it is so funny to me. And that's kind of the reason why
I like it that an outsider, without years and years and years of political preparation and years of training and coaching about when to talk and when not to talk and when to keep secret what you actually believe and when to actually say stuff. I like it that the fact somebody actually says what they believe, says what they think, says what they're going to do. Geez, how novel.
I know. And from all of our American friends, you might not know this, but our first Prime Minister, which is kind of like a president, John A. Macdonald, he said that there should never be career politicians as the Prime Minister of Canada. That's what he said, and I kind of agree with him. I don't think career politicians...
I do.
Yeah, I almost agree with him.
These people know how to
actually
say what the public needs to hear so they'll vote next time. That's what they need. That's not what we need.
The only way I don't agree with him fully is I do think we need career politicians in Canada's politics, but I don't think our Prime Minister should be a career politician. I
think politics should be something you get into for 5 to 10 years and go back to life.
Yeah.
How could you possibly understand what the people in the public want unless you're actually one of the people in the public?
Yeah, and I think Trump is a good example of why that's a good thing to have. I personally think that we could even go a step further than Trump and have almost like some Joe Schmo, a guy that was just a carpenter for 20 years, or a guy that was just a welder for 20 years. Those are just two examples, but like just doing something for 20 years and then started to do politics for 5. That's something that I would personally like to see in politics. In Parliament or in the White House. I'd love to see that.
This is a 22-year-old kid that has never missed an opportunity to vote. He even voted when he was stationed... Oh, sorry.
That's fine,
I'm supposed to say that. But when he was in Ontario, he still voted here in British Columbia where his place of residence was. And he voted in the last referendum.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
My children, on their 18th birthday or after the very next election, go to the polls with me. We go as a family. Anyway, so here's what I wanted to talk about today. We're
going to be doing this almost every
I'm going to save this for next week.
Okay.
Okay, but this one here I want to talk about. So here's a question for the listeners. Where do boys get to go to be boys?
Usually they have clubs and sports teams and things like that, I guess.
I want them to think about it, though. Where do we get to go to boys to be boys? See, boys, we're boisterous. We're obnoxious. We talk loud. We're, we're over-energetic. We're doing everything. In the classrooms, they're now sit down, be quiet. In every environment, the boys are, when they're mixed with girls, it's sit down and be quiet. Well, guess what? We can't do that. We're full of testosterone from the time we're born.
Yeah.
We are little ever-ready bunnies, and we just have to move. We have to talk. We have to do things. We have to touch things. We have to get up and walk around.
We got to see how things work. We're full of anger, too, so that's why we get in fights often. I think what a lot of feminists are missing in today's movement that they're having is that they're trying to go for equality and trying to make all genders exactly the same person on the same playing field, but we're not equal. We're not exactly the same. We're different.
No, we are equal. We're different.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Is we're different. Men are not the same as women. You can't make us play with dolls because most of us don't want to play with dolls.
And you can't make girls play with cars because most of them don't want to play with cars.
There are some exceptions to the rule.
Sure there are.
But that doesn't mean that the mass majority of them do, and that's why...
You have a sister that's taking her Class 1 with air. She's going to be a long-haul truck driver.
Yeah, and she's an exception to the rule.
Yeah.
She's an exception, and that's... And you even see it with kids. Like, my girlfriend's daughter, she is taking to prominently female toys. I bring her Hot Wheels, and she likes them a little bit, but she is taking to prominently female toys, and that is perfectly fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because... she's a girl, and she's going to like girl toys, and that's just the way...
there's a little bit wrong with that. I bought her some of those Hot Wheels, and I was a little bummed out she didn't want to play with them.
She plays with them a fair amount, but of course she likes her girls' toys more.
Well, one of the things I found with children, with all of you children, you played with whatever I played with you with.
Yeah, she likes playing with the cars, because I like playing with them.
Yeah.
So, back to what you wanted to talk about.
Okay, so... Here's what I've noticed is boys' behavior. Like, it's inappropriate in mixed situations because we're just not capable of being appropriate. When you're on a job site, sometimes we talk really rude and crude. Like, one of the jokes I have is men will talk shit to your face, but guess what? We got your back. And that's the way it is on the job site. That's the way it is on the war front. That's the way it is in the military. Yeah. Like, we'll talk shit to one another's face, but we got one another's back. Anyway, you just can't make boys be girls. And if you drive the testosterone down, then what happens is it goes somewhere. And I personally think, and I would believe some of the psychologists and stuff believe this, that driving that testosterone down, those children never stop being boys. What happens, they become feminized boys. Yeah. And down the road, those are probably, my opinion only, your rapists and your molesters and your people that are, the violent offenders and stuff like that. I think a lot of those are guys that really don't know how to express their masculinity.
Well, it's the same thing that happens when you get real mad at someone for whatever reason and you push that down and you ignore it. And little things pile on top of that. Eventually, it's going to be what people call the straw that breaks the camel's back, and you're just going to explode. And you're going to lose your absolute mind.
Here's what I'm saying. Boys need to have places where they can be boys. Yeah. And one of the places that used to be was the Boy Scouts of America. They did boy things. They got boy badges. They got male badges when they became the Scouts, Boy Scouts of Canada, like the Cub Scouts became Boy Scouts. Well, guess what? In the United States, they started allowing women or girls into Cub Scouts about a year ago or 8 months ago. And then about May, they actually changed the name. And now it's just called Scouts, what was the name of it?
As far as I know, it's just Scouts of America.
Anyway, it's now just Scouts. Now, here's what I have to say. In the United States and in the world, there's women's clubs. Like, there's lots and lots of women-only clubs, women-only fitness clubs, women-only activity centers. Let me finish.
Okay.
Women over places. 5 of the best clubs in the world. Grace Belgravia, University Women's Club, the Sorority, the Trouble Club, and Verity. They're all exclusive to women. And do you know why men are not beating the doors down to get in those places? Because we don't want to. We want to give you space.
There's no reason
we want you to have space to go and talk about and do the things that women do. What we want you to do is give us some space. Why are you doing this to us?
And, like, there is Girl Scouts.
Girl Guides of America. Like, you have your programs. Why do you have to be in ours? Like, can we not get some space too?
I don't understand
it,
actually.
Wow.
It makes no sense to me that for starters, that the women wanted to be in Boy Scouts, and then it also makes no sense to me that the Boy Scouts gave in. And
they had no choice but to give in. Canada gave in back in the 70s. We started allowing Girl Guides. And then in the 80s, by then, they were all the way up to the top levels and stuff like that. But guess what? Go look at the numbers of people that are in Scouts and in Guides and stuff like that anymore. Not very many. But here's the interesting thing. Girls are allowed in Scouts. Girls are allowed in all of the Scout stuffs. So there's no place for men to go alone. But we still have Girl Guides of America, and we still have Brownies, and we still have other female-only organizations. So really, we have lots of places for girls to only be with girls, but we have no places for men to only be men.
Yeah, I mean, you might actually not know this because I just read this article and I had no idea you were going to be talking about this, but I just read this article that they are now opening the very first all-girls Boy Scouts group in America. Does that make sense to you? All-girls Boy Scouts group. The very first.
They're not called Boy Scouts anymore, so it'd be an all-girls Scouts group.
Yeah. Which makes zero sense to me because you're now doing the thing that you got mad at us for doing, which is excluding boys from it. That blows my mind. Like, what the fuck?
Anyway, so that's my thing. So I want to talk about some tools now. Okay? Let's get off the politics, get off the feminist stuff, get off the masculine things. Let's talk about tools.
These tools here?
This is a pretty cool thing. I want to show you this thing.
Yeah.
See this here? My son made this. He's a welder fabricator.
Yeah. I made this in one of the projects we had to make when I was in welding school. You have to do padding, which is where you just run lines forever, and on the back you have to do a waterfall pattern, which we do on different buckets for excavators and whatnot, so that they don't wear off as much and so that the dirt doesn't get stuck to them as much. So I had to do this on one of the projects, and then while I was waiting, because I was a little bit ahead of everybody else, I welded a 5-pass weld on here, and I welded this to it, and then I welded our last name on here, because I just thought that was fun and something to do, and I had nothing to do because I was done. I had already gotten my mark and finished that part of the test, and I ended up actually getting the highest mark out of our class for this project, for the padding.
He finished second. What a loser.
Yeah.
Didn't win.
That happens sometimes.
But he did win the Tri-Medal Award.
That was in college. Yeah.
Oh, that was in your next class after that.
Yeah, this was the one after that.
Oh, okay. So he's been to lots of schools and stuff like that to learn welding.
Well, yeah, this was my second of 2 classes that I was on. I've done quite a few different types of welding. I love it. Welding is my joy. That's what I love to do. He likes wood. I like metal. Yeah. Together we can make cool things.
The lucky thing for him is if he misses a cut or something like that, he can weld some extras on. But for me, if I cut my boards too short, yeah, they're too short. They're always going to be too short.
You can always go get the wood stretcher, right?
Yeah, right.
Just stretch it out.
So here's some nifty tools. I wanted to show you some tools here. I don't know how many of you men, and some women too, have had to take your car into a shop and they tell you this miracle list of things that are wrong with it, and this costs $135, and this oxygen sensor costs $76, and it's going to cost you $276 for them to put these things in, and then your car will be tickety-boo, right? And this is all because there's a little light on your dash, but the car runs fine, right?
And they'll say words that you have no idea what they are, and maybe you'll look them up and they don't even exist.
So anyway, for people that have an older car, I've got this thing here is a Mac Tools ET50, which is a diagnostic tool that fits in some of the older vehicles. This would be pre-1995. You plug this in, little code shows up here, then you go up there and you look on the computer, punch in the code, and it tells you what's wrong. So now, if you're not going to fix it yourself, at least when you go to the mechanic, and he tells you it's a myriad of other things, you could say, no, I already had it tested on a diagnostic, and it says that it is the oxygen sensor. That's $76, and I know where it is. Or you could actually replace it yourself, you know?
So, some people don't have the ability to do that. They might not have the space. They might not have the tools. But having this, I think, is important for everybody. I think everybody should have one of those. Even if you don't got a toolbox like this, or even if you don't even have a toolbox like this.
That's as essential as changing your... It's about $100, right?
Yeah.
This one here is for newer cars. This is a GM code reader. Okay, now the GM code reader actually can do other manufacturers as well, but I bought this for my GM. I have GMC Safaris.
There you go.
It's basically a similar thing. It doesn't have a wire, but it just plugs into the little thing as well. You just plug it in. It gives you codes, and this one here gives you flashes. It's kind of a cheaper piece of equipment. I don't think I'd recommend this particular one to anybody. What I would recommend... Nah, I wouldn't recommend this because it's pretty expensive, but I bought recently a new one.
What do you got? I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah. This one is called an Innova.
Oh, one of my friends had one of those.
This one's a 3140G, which is, when I got it, was the most update one. Now what this thing can do is when you're using it, is there batteries in here? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so when you plug this one in, this can be plugged into every car. I bought it so that I could plug it into my daughter's Volkswagen Beetle. Now her dash light was on, and it was a brake light, right? And it said, no, it was an airbag light.
Airbags, yeah.
Right, so the airbag light was on, and we didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to take it into a shop because I was afraid it'd be a $700 or $800 bill, or maybe a $1,500 bill, or whatever, right? So I went and got this code reader. Believe it or not, this was $750. But I went and got this code reader. You plug this in, and it does foreign and domestic cars, almost all of them. This one, the beauty here, is it actually tells you. Right here, I've got Volkswagen Beetle, right? And then the Global LBT2, and it tells me exactly what was wrong. It told me where the problem was, which was in the wiring below the seat. So we fixed the wiring, the light went out, and all's good. So we saved ourselves probably at least $1,000 from repairs.
Because they replaced your entire airbag system.
Yeah, this also tests your fuel emission system. It tests all your timing, tests all your other engine systems. It'll tell you whether or not your compression is low or what other things are. Now it also works on every manufacturer that you can think of. So each one of these are different plugs for different kinds of cars. Different kinds of setups, different kinds of computers. Every single car has a diagnostic testing thing. The mechanics have the magic tool that they can tell you. And if you don't know whether or not you're being fed a line of crap, you are at the mercy of the people that are doing this job.
That's the charging cord, right?
Yeah. So basically what I'm saying is go prepared. And I can guarantee you that everybody out there has a mechanically friendly person that has one of these things. I can come and test your car in 5 minutes.
And even if you're like, oh, I can't afford $100 or whatever, you can go to Canadian Tire. You can buy one of them things, go test your car, and you can come and bring it back.
No, you can't. Once you open that package on these ones, you can't do it.
What?
No.
Oh,
but you know
one of my friends did that in Ontario.
Well, $100 is a small price to pay for the cheaper version here, right? Or asking a friend to plug theirs in. I've plugged mine into about 3 different cars so far, different manufacturers and stuff, and told people what was wrong with their car. You're going to save thousands of dollars in repair costs possibly, or at the very least, when you go into the dealership, you're going to look prepared, and they're not going to be in such a position to be able to victimize you. Now, not all shops are going to do that. Most shops are legit and good, high quality, but everybody here watching this video has heard of a horror story of somebody being ripped off by a car dealership or by a repair shop.
My grandma had it happen to her recently. Yep. They know who to feast on, and they can see almost immediately when you walk through the door. They know that you don't know what you're talking about, and that you just want your car fixed and you're desperate.
So for the women out there that actually talk about toxic males, some of these men that do this kind of stuff to people, like rip you off and treat you like you don't know it,
we do not.
Please, go in prepared. Don't let them do it. This is a man telling you. Don't let men victimize you.
Yeah, and we'll help you. If you can't afford a tester, you can come over here and we'll test it for you. Or we'll come to you if you're close.
I would plug that into any friend's car. Take me 5 minutes. Anyway, that's it for today.
Yeah, this is a great little talk we had here. We're going to try to keep videos about this short. This should be about 20 minutes, if that. We're going to try and keep them about this every week. I will come back next week and we'll have another video talking about some more stuff. I'm sure this Jussie Smollett case will take off.
Okay, just a reminder, look up my book, Rapacious Creditor. It's on Google Play Books. I've just finished writing my 3rd volume of the series, and all 3 volumes will be posted on Google Play Books in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Anyway, make sure you get on there and check it out. Sovereign debt is a major, major problem.
Yeah, we'll have a link to all his books in the description below. whenever he uploads the rest of them, or when he posts even more books that he's writing. He's got tons of stuff that you guys are going to definitely want to read. If you like this video, please hit a like below, and subscribe to see more videos like this. If you if you want to hear more of what me and Dad have to talk about, we talk about NASCAR and other things like that over on our other channel called Toxic Male NASCAR. If you want to go and check that out, there'll be a link in the description for you to go over to that channel. With that being said, well, have a great day. We're gonna get back to work. Talk to you later.
Bye bye.